Hello, welcome to today's video. In today's The Hindu newspaper, in the first page, there is an article saying, for Mizo students, it's a struggle to catch the tower. They huddle on roads, atop trees, mounds, and structures seeking connectivity for online classes. Now, this article talks about digital divide in India and lack of equal access to internet facilities, due to which lack of access to education is prevalent in India in different parts of the society. People are unable to access education, particularly online education, because of lack of equality in access to internet facilities and remoteness of the places they are residing. Hence, this article talks particularly about a situation in Mizoram, wherein K. Wafafai and 19 other college students in a village in southern Mizoram, Siaha district, have taken a temporary break from trekking 5 to 6 kilometers in different directions in small groups to catch the tower for logging on to their online classes. The reason, their undergraduate exams ended a week ago. That means, had their exams been there, they would have had to trek another 5 to 6 kilometers in different directions to access the education. This explains the plight of the students to access exams and classes. One of the students says, we had to buy smartphones, but buying one did not guarantee us internet access. We had to turn a road, tree, hilltop, bridge, riverbank, or any other structure into our makeshift classroom to study. This again explains the situation of students in Mizoram. Connectivity is not the only issue, however. Access to electricity is an issue in many villages, as a result of which phones are redundant. Also, many in the rural areas cannot afford smartphones for their children to study online. To add to students' woes, road widening and construction projects have led to the damage of optical fiber cables, snapping connectivity. Now, continued in this article in the next page. However, one of the officials finds a silver lining here. What the silver lining is, the determination of the students to go to the extra yard for connectivity underlines their academic interest. The fellow feeling among the Mizo community has also come to the fore with any villager, even if not related to a student, letting his or her smartphone to be used for classes or exams. Now, this lack of access to internet also is also a function functional to the society, says Vice Chancellor of the Mizoram University. However, looking into this article in social perspective, we have important sociological concepts to be discussed in this article. One is Durkheim's division of labor. Now, Emile Durkheim, in the chapter of thinkers, we have Emile Durkheim, and under him we have an important concept called division of labor. Now, Durkheim divides division of labor into two. One is normal division of labor, and the other one is abnormal division of labor. He classifies abnormal division of labor further into anomic and forced division of labor. Now, Durkheim feels forced division of labor is the reason for undermining solidarity in the society. Why? Forced division of labor is a condition, that is structural conditions wherein distribution of tasks are not proportional to the distribution of talent and will. When the structural conditions are such that distribution of tasks are disproportionate to the distribution of talent and will, that results in a situation wherein inequality of opportunity exists. Now, this inequality of opportunity is external inequality, says Durkheim. This is not natural inequality. That means this is not given by birth, or this is not given by fate or God or something else. This is given by the society itself. This is resulted from the social structures and social conditions prevalent in the society. This is imposed by social institutions on the individuals. Hence, this is external inequality, and this external inequality must be addressed at the earliest. Why? Because of this external inequality, or because of this inequality of opportunity, individuals become frustrated with their society. That means the here Mizo students, after a certain period of alienation, or after certain period of providing equal access to or equal opportunity to education, they may get frustrated with their society. They may see their peer groups. In the same article, it was written in the end that same Mizoram University has students from Kerala and Tamil Nadu. These students from Kerala and Tamil Nadu had better access to internet facilities, this article says here. That means that Mizoram students who are living in Mizoram might see those peers, their friends living in Kerala and Tamil Nadu accessing better internet facilities and getting better off in education. Hence, they may eventually feel frustrated with their society, and because they also want to live in a society wherein there is equal access to internet facilities and equal access to education. That frustration leads to undermining solidarity, says Durkheim. Hence, uh, to promote solidarity in society, equality of opportunity is required, says Durkheim. That's why we have to provide equal internet facilities and equal access to education to all the students in the country to promote solidarity. Otherwise, solidarity undermining happens, says Durkheim. Further, sorry for the interruption. If you think why education is important, here in the chapter education and social change, in the first paper we have a chapter called social change, and under that we have a concept called education and social change. Under that, education is important because it initiates social change. It has capacity to welcome change. It ensures equality of opportunity. But in this particular example, there is a paradoxical situation wherein education must ensure equality of opportunity ideally, but because of lack of equality of opportunity to internet facilities, education is being divided unequally within the society. That is a paradoxical situation existing, and this point can be added in answers in our exam, which gives a extra half or 1 mark to our particular answer. It provides alternative view to the examiner. Education is a moral agent. It ensures or imbibes values like empathy and rational investigation. Now, here we have seen Mizo students are helping their peers, helping other students in their village to access exams and classes by sharing their mobiles. This is because they have imbibed the value of empathy because of their education, and that is what it is written here. It is a moral agent. Education has economic role also. This again is a converse situation. Education has economic role, and economic role is influences education, because education is part of superstructure. In Karl Marx economic determinism, we have base structure and superstructure. Base structure is economy. Economic base structure influences institutions and superstructure. Now, education lies in superstructure, hence, economy influences education. Why? We have seen well off societies, we have seen economically well settled societies accessing education better in lockdowns. If only they have more money than the others, they could access or they could avail internet facilities, they could avail good laptop, good smartphone, and they can access education. That means economy is determining something in superstructure. This is called economic determinism by Karl Marx. Further, economy fights orthodoxy, promotes liberal ideas. Economy is means for social mobility. Economy access the social change. Now, perspectives on education and social change, we have Sumner saying why schooling is important. Here, we are discussing online education, right? We are discussing about digital divide in India. As we have shifted from traditional school education to online education due to this pandemic, we may also get a question on online education and how it impacts social change, why schooling is important. Such questions may come in our exam in sociology. Hence, we have to discuss that also in social perspective. We have Sumner says schooling is important because schooling it transmits the modes of the group to the child. Learning what is approved and what is not in the society, how to behave in all kinds of cases, what is ought to be believed and respected, is learned or imbibed to the students by the teachers in schools only. Because school is a miniature society. Here we have Durkheim saying schools are epitomes of society. They are miniatures of society. In schools only, social moral values are imbibed to the students. Children learn to respect norms of the society and be part of a larger group. That means schools are agents of transmission of social norms. Education is the socialization of the younger generation, says Durkheim. That's why education is important for everyone. Education helps in impartation of skills which sustain division of labor in society. Parsons' view is not relevant here, but we have a critical view regarding schooling. We have feminists like McRobbie and Sueli saying schooling reproduces appropriate feminine roles and goals. It reproduces gender stereotypes. Now, thanks to the online education and thanks to this pandemic, deschooling has been happened, and this feminization or gender stereotypes are not being reproduced in schools or in students because of schools or absence of schools. We have another feminist, Paul Willis, saying Schooling promotes aggressive masculinity because boys use derogatory language in schooling. Their body language is masculine in nature. It promotes the ideology of masculinity and femininity in school. Hence, these stereotypes get reproduced and strengthened in schools. We have Marxists like Althusser saying, education is the most important ideological state apparatus appropriated by the ruling classes to pursue their own ideas and interests, and it reinforces dominant ideology and thus hinders real social change in society. It merely leads to reproduction of labor force, though is not relevant here. We have Bowlis and Gintis saying, they are also Marxists, school is a giant myth-making machine with a hidden curriculum which serves the interests of the dominant groups. We have Ivan Illich saying in his book Deschooling Society in 1971, he says, pupil confuses teaching with learning, grades advancement with education, and a diploma with competence. Now, we also get confused with this. Uh, uh, as soon as teaching 10 chapters by the teacher uh, uh, forces us to think or makes us to think that our education is completed, or we to finish the 10 chapter learning those 10 chapters. We do not care about learn those 10 chapters by ourselves, or we do not care about revising our notes or attempting mock tests or practicing model answers, etc. As soon as the teacher completes those 10 chapters, we think our learning has also been completed. That means we are mistaking teaching with learning. Ivan Illich further says, pupil confuses grade advancement with education. Now, as soon as we advance from grade B to grade A or grade A to grade A plus or something like that, as soon as we get more marks than the previous test, we think that we are gaining more education. But the real education lies in what? In values, in imbibing values of the society, in taking promoting social change, in imbibing liberal values, democratic values, etc. In attaining empathy or compassion, etc. This moral agent, education is a moral agent we have discussed, right? If this moral agent has been digested by us, if this ideas like empathy and rational investigation have been imbibed in us, if this fighting orthodoxy and only then, if these values are imbibed with us, only then we can say that we have imparted education. Just because we are able to upgrade in our grades, we are able to score more marks than our previous test, we think we have been attaining education. That is a misnomer. That is a confusion. Why this confusion is prevailing in society? It is because of schooling, says Ivan Illich. And we also confuse diploma with competence. As soon as we earn diploma, or as soon as we earn a degree or a BTech certificate, we think we are competent in the market, we are competent in the labor market, or we are competent in the society. But how much of that education degree is valuable, or how much in that engineering we have imbibed in our minds, how much of that engineering we can reproduce if the real problem arises in the society? We have seen we must have come across many mechanical engineers who cannot repair cars when their car is broke down on road. We must have come across many civil engineers who cannot design a simple portico or a simple two-bedroom flat or a simple single-bedroom flat also. This kind of situation arises. But despite that situation, we think that just because we have education or engineering degree or engineering certificate in our hand, we are competent in the society. That confusion is prevalent in the society, says Ivan Illich, just because of schooling. Hence, he strives for deschooling of society. That is what is there in this article. We have seen Durkheim's division of labor. We have seen why schooling and education is important, and we have also seen critical view to schooling through feminists and Marxists. Now, if a question comes in the exam regarding online education or regarding schooling or regarding digital divide, we can quote all these examples or all these perspectives in our answer to gain marks. Both critical view also we must produce at least, and in the end, if the critical view is not asked. Now, moving on to the next article, in the editorial page, we have an article saying, on the margins with full equality still out of reach. Despite judicial verdicts, India's sexual minorities face discrimination in employment, health issues, and personal rights. Now, this particular article talks about transgenders or LGBTQ groups and the kind of alienation they are facing in the society. Despite judicial verdicts, that means In Navtej Singh Johar case, Supreme Court has decriminalized homosexuality. Section 377 of IPC has been repealed or has been declared as unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. Despite such verdict, transgenders or LGBTQ still face discrimination in the society, says this article. Going into the contents of the article, here the author says, in the book Sex and the Supreme Court, how the law is upholding the dignity of the Indian citizen, written in 2020 by Saurabh Kripal, the author observes, in the tug of war between the demands of the traditional conception of society and the rights of individuals to their identity and dignity, the Supreme Court has come down firmly in favor of individual. Now, reading this particular opinion or reading this particular statement, we may remind Immanuel Durkheim saying society is everything. Immanuel Durkheim says, individual is nothing in himself and society is everything. Society is not made up of individuals, but rather the existence of individual is very much attached into the existence of society. Now, this particular opinion or argument of Immanuel Durkheim has been refuted by the Supreme Court. What Supreme Court has done? It has come down firmly in favor of individual. That means it has criticized Durkheim. It has gone against Durkheim, and it has given more importance to the individual than to the society. In criticism to Immanuel Durkheim also, we can see Gabriel Tard saying it is very difficult to understand how a society can exist without an individual. Exactly. Without that individual transgender, society is not existent. He criticized Durkheim for neglecting individuals and giving much emphasis on society. That's why emphasis must be given to individuals also, and Supreme Court has done exactly that in this particular situation. We have Harry Elmer Payon saying individuals do many actions without any societal compulsions. Here also, if we see those LGBTQ community, people in those community tend to orient towards particular sex, not because of any societal compulsion. They are getting oriented towards that sex because of their individual compulsion, because of their individual motivation, because of their individual sexual orientation, and not because of any societal compulsion. Hence, Harry Elmer Payon's criticism is relevant here. We have also Heidelman saying Durkheim was more considered about making of a society rather than describing a methodology for it. That describing a methodology has been done by the Supreme Court. We'll see in the end of the article. Now, further in this article, this has been said by Supreme Court in Navtej Singh Johar and others versus Union of India in 2018. The article talks about queer liberation movement. Is this a social movement? Because social movement we have in our syllabus. So we have to check whether queer liberation movement is a social movement or not. In our chapter social movements, in social movements, ideology is central. In this queer liberation movement also, is ideology central? Yes. Queer liberation movement is based on an ideology that everyone deserves equal position in the society. Just because they have different sexual orientation than to the cultural values and norms, they do not deserve the kind of discrimination they are facing currently in the society. Hence, this queer liberation movement is also based on ideology. Ideology is central in this movement also, and hence it is social movement. Now, nature of social movements, if we see, it depends on collectivity with continuity to promote or resist change. Now, this queer liberation movement depends on collectivity. Yes, not every individual is not fighting here. LGBTQs, they are collectively fighting for their rights, and it is based on continuity. Yes, this queer liberation movement is long drawn movement, and it is not just a one-off movement. Hence, it is basing on continuity. It is promoting social change. Now, next nature of social movement is it is sustained and not sporadic. Yes, queer liberation movement is also sustained, and it is not just one-off movement, or it just comes popped out into the news once in a while. It is sustained. Every day they are fighting for their rights. Every day they are facing discrimination. As long as they face discrimination, this queer liberation movement stays alive in the society. Nature of social movements in the other point is no set of rules nor fixed structure nor hierarchy exists in social movement. In queer liberation movement also, there are no set of rules. That means the people fighting or people participating in the liberation movement, they have no rules for them. No one is dictating their terms. No one is fixing their structure, and there is no hierarchy in the movement also. The people are fighting for themselves and their peers in their group collectively. And these social movements are not eternal. Yes, queer liberation movement is also not eternal. Once they achieve their rights, once they achieve their equal status, or once they achieve what they're aspiring for, that means minimum dignity in society, this queer liberation movement ends then and there. That's why it is not eternal. Social movements occur in both liberal and authoritarian societies. Yes, India is a liberal society, and we have seen in many other countries also. They are liberal societies, and in their countries also, queer liberation movement is there. And in authoritarian societies like China, etc., also this queer liberation movement is there. And social movements birth with an initiating event, says Neil Smeltzer. Yes, in queer liberation movement also there are particular initiating particularly in the case of India. This article talks about the initiating event. As opined by Neil Smeltzer, there must be some initiating event for a social movement to begin. In the case of India, also, this Supreme Court judgment has given rise to the or given has given birth to queer liberation movement in India. Hence, all the conditions and social movements or nature of this particular queer liberation movement satisfies all the conditions of social movements, and hence it can be termed as a social movement. If we see effort by large number conditions for origin of social movements, effort by large number of people. Yes, effort is there in this particular queer liberation movement. People must understand the problem. Yes, we are able to understand what problem those LGBTQs face. Problem must be observable. Yes, it is directly observable to the naked eyes in our society. Problem must be objective. Yes, it is not subjective. And the problem is objective in the society. It is not to particular individual based on the particular subjective ideology. It is objective in the society. There must be consciousness of the problem. Yes, everyone has consciousness of the problem, and hence condition all the conditions for origin of social movements have been satisfied, and hence queer liberation movement is a social movement. Now, going further into this article says the Delhi High Court's verdict in Nas Foundation versus Government of NCT of Delhi 2009 was a 38th parallel in the law of sexuality and equality jurisprudence in India. The court held that Section 377 offended the guarantee of equality enshrined in Article 14 of the Constitution because it creates an unreasonable classification and targets homosexuals as a class. Now, why this Article 14 has been included in our Constitution? Because we have remembered Durkheim there. Now, in Durkheim's division of labor, we have already discussed if there is a forced division of labor in the society, if the structural conditions or a distribution of tasks is not in proportion to the distribution of talent and will, there is this inequality of opportunity, and that inequality of opportunity undermines solidarity, says Durkheim. Now we cannot compromise on solidarity in our society after attaining independence. Hence, we have included Article 14 in our Constitution. Further, this article says, despite the judgments of the Supreme Court, full equality is still a pie in the sky for the queer community in India. In matters of employment, health, and personal relationship, there is still a lot of discrimination against sexual minorities. It is only when these problems are adequately addressed that the LGBTQ plus community will be able to enjoy full autonomy and agency. That means, though their rights have been restored, they are not being able to integrate into the society. In this particular matter, we can see Talcott Parsons relevant here. In Parsons functional prerequisites, integration is something taken care of by cultural system. Now, because our cultural system is not in line with the aspirations of LGBTQ community, we are not able to get those people integrated into our society. Now, to get those people integrated into our society, what we have to do? So our cultural system must be amended, or it must be adjusted to the present needs in the society. Integration happens, or integration always tries to maintain coherence, solidarity, and coordination by cultures and values. Hence, if our cultures and values have been amended in line with the aspirations of LGBTQ community, then they can be integrated into our society. In this particular regard, Talcott Parsons is relevant in this article. Further, going into this article, it says the legal sanction is opposed. The Union of India has recently opposed any move to accord legal sanction to same-sex marriages in India, stating that the decriminalization of Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code Sorry for the interruption again. It says does not automatically, where we are, does not automatically translate into a fundamental right for same-sex couples to marry. This was stated in response to the Delhi High Court notice to a plea by LGBTQ plus activists and couples who sought recognition of same-sex marriages. Now, Justice Anthony Kennedy of the US Supreme Court in Obergefell versus Hodges in 2015 underscored the emotional and social value of the institution of marriage and asserted that the universal human right of marriage should not be denied to a same-sex couple. As of 2021, same-sex marriage is legally performed and recognized in 29 countries. Indian society and the state should synchronize themselves with changing trends. That means, except in Indian society, in 29 other countries, this same-sex marriages has been legalized and has been accepted in their societies. Now, why Indian society is not being able to accept? We have discussed integration has not been done. That means our cultural values are not in line with their aspirations. And moreover, education is not fully relevant. Education is not fully there in our society. Now, education doesn't mean getting degrees or literacy rate. Education here means growing awareness and growing this moral values like empathy or rational investigation, empathy for their for the people of LGBTQ communities, and rational investigation that whether we are right in denying them opportunities or discriminating them in the society. Hence, if education is there, because education initiates social change and education has capacity to welcome change, this particular point is so much relevant in this article, because education has capacity to welcome change. Here, social change is nothing but accepting LGBTQ communities into the mainstream society. That social change is welcomed with the help of education. And in Indian society also accepts, like 29 other countries, same-sex marriages only with the education. Further, amend Article 15, says the author. Article 15 secures the citizens from every sort of discrimination by the state on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth, or any of them. This article is the cornerstone of the concept that equality is the antithesis of discrimination. Imbibing the Zeitgeist, the grounds of non-discrimination should be expanded by including gender and sexual orientation. Now, this antithesis Zeitgeist concept we have come across in our sociology syllabus in Hegel. Now, in Hegelian dialectics, we have seen the Zeitgeist concept. Zeitgeist is nothing but the spirit of the age. The development of the intellectual life of the mind or spirit results in the primary manifestation of development of humanity, says Hegel. Hegel further says the potential of humanity will only be fully developed when they are truly free, which means free of all circumstantial inhibitions. Now, LGBTQ community also, they are able to realize their potential of humanity only when they are truly free from all the inhibitions or all the discriminations in the society. Now, development of humanity happens only when, that means LGBT community, all Q community also will be accepted in the society, and we will develop as a whole in terms of humanity only when our intellectual capabilities develop in such a way that we accept LGBTQ people of LGBTQ community into our society without any discrimination and without any prejudices. Hegel further says true nature of history and human existence is to be understood in terms of development of thought, of ideas. Now, here also, if we develop our thought and our ideas in such a way that we accept their inclusion into the society, then we can say that we have marked or we have reached a milestone in history, because our thought, our ideas have been developed from anti-LGBTQs to pro-LGBTQs. Hegel discusses this dialectics like thesis idea. For this thesis idea, there emerges an antithesis idea over a time, and because of this clash of thesis and antithesis, there results a synthesis idea. Now, this thesis idea is discrimination, says author in this particular article. This antithesis idea is equality, says the author. From this discrimination and equality, there emerges a synthesis situation. That means, though complete equality may not be attained, some partial equality will be attained for over a period of time. Further, this synthesis idea will again be developed into thesis. For that, again, antithesis develops, and again, another new synthesis develops. That means this development of synthesis idea over a time reaches this antithesis. That means over a period of time, we will be able to attain complete equality with the continued enforcement or continued exhibition of antithesis idea. That means idea of equality in the society. That is what the author talks here in terms of Hegel. The author further says the United Kingdom has passed the Alan Turing Law in 2017. Alan Turing Law, everyone must be knowing. The other terms, LGBTQ community as prisoners of sexual conscience. Hence, they must be freed from their sexual conscience. Only then they will be able to attain their potential in full as a humanity. Now, Justice Rohinton F. Nariman had directed in Navtej Singh Johar and others the government to sensitize the general public and officials, including police officials, to reduce and finally eliminate the stigma associated with LGBTQ plus community through the mass media and the official channels. But the government has simply disregarded this obligation. Now, we have seen here uh, this is nothing but a political system acting or trying describing their goals and acting towards those goals. Here, Justice Rohinton F. Nariman had directed in Navtej Singh Johar case the government of India to act in such particular manner to include LGBTQ plus community into the mainstream society. That means in the goal attainment in target person's perspective, setting of goals is done here. Goal attainment, determination of goals is done by the Justice Rohinton F. Nariman. But just because the goals are determined, goal attainment will not be achieved, Parson says. For that, motivating the members of the system to attain these goals must be there. Mobilizing the members and their energies for the achievement of these goals must be there. Because this motivating the members and mobilizing the members has not been done, this goal attainment, our political system has failed in goal attainment. That means inclusion of LGBTQ plus members in our society. That's what in this article we have discussed Immanuel Durkheim's perspective on society and individual. We have discussed the social movements, queer liberation movement as a social movement. We have discussed Durkheim's division of labor, why Article 14 is included in our constitution. We have discussed cultural system, why LGBTQ plus Q plus community are not being integrated into the society, and we have also discussed political system, why our political class is failing to attain goals of inclusion of those people in our community. Moving on further, we have also discussed Hegelian dialectics. Yes, if we see this total inclusion of LGBTQ plus Q plus community into the society as a social change, Talcott Parsons described this social system or social change as happening when he describes four systems: cultural system, social system, personality system, and organismic system. He terms cultural system as storehouse of information. That means all that information that drives the society, like values, norms, cultural morals, etc., are present in the cultural system. Now energy is present in the organismic system. Now this energy must flow from organismic system to cultural system, and this information must flow from cultural system to organismic system. Now we have seen we are not able to include LGBTQs into our community because our cultural values are not in line with their aspirations. That cultural that kind of information that is presently driving our society must be degenerated into organisms. It must not be there as a general thing in culture. Now this energy to fight for their rights, this energy to fight for their inclusion in the society, fight for minimum dignity of life, is currently present in certain individuals only. That means it is present in organismic system only. It must evolve or emerge into personality system. It must emerge into social system. That means society as a whole must fight for the rights, must fight for their inclusion in the society, and it must emerge into cultural system. That means inclusion of those LGBTQs into our community must become the norm of the culture. That has to be our equality, uh, our non-discrimination must be emerged as a culture in our society. Only then social change occurs, says Talcott Parsons. If altered social change. Now moving on to the next article. Here says government faces a tough choice on interest rates. A cut in small savings rates at this point would be an unpopular move and further hurt households amid a surge in inflation, according to economists. We can't give a shock that discourages financial savings by effecting sharp rate cuts like those announced last time. We are savings dependent economy and need a policy that gives them the same importance as investments. Now, this particular article is about interest rates on savings schemes. It says the cutting small savings rates will be unpopular and further hurt households amid a surge in inflation, says economists. That means we can remind of a Karl Marx concept called economic determinism. Economic base structure is determining socio-political superstructure. In this particular article, political decisions to cut interest rates or not, to enhance interest rates or not, to amend repo rates or reverse repo rates or not, all these decisions, all are political, in which are political in nature, are influenced by economic base structure. Hence, economic base structure is determining socio-political superstructure, as rightly said by Karl Marx. Also, we say this will hurt households, it says. Moreover, the household savings have been shrinking significantly for 2 quarters in a row before the second COVID-19 wave. That means households are adapting to the situation, current situation. In here in economic system, if you see in Parsons functional prerequisites, adaptation happens. That means generation and acquisition of resources from outside the system to affect its distribution in the system. That means we households are generating or acquiring their resources to survive from outside the system, and they are distributing within their system for their survival. Now, because the COVID-19 pandemic has affected their livelihoods, the households or individuals are getting adapted to the situation by amending the economic system. That means economic system is readjusting itself to adapt to the situation. Hence, this Talcott-Parsons adaptation concept is relevant in this particular article. Moving on to the next article. Here, the Prime Minister says shed vaccine hesitancy and get inoculated soon, says Modi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday urged the country to shed vaccine hesitancy and get themselves inoculated soon, and to trust science and scientists to combat the threat of the COVID-19, which still remains among us. He further says, more than 31 crore Indians have taken the vaccine. I have taken both doses. My mother, who is nearly 100 years old, has also taken it. Now, why Prime Minister himself has taken the vaccine to drive others in the society or others in the country to take the vaccine? Why the Prime Minister is saying that his mother, who is nearly 100, has also taken the vaccine? Because we can remember Max Weber, power and authority here. Power is nothing but ability to influence others for action even against their will. Even people are hesitating to get vaccinated or get inoculated. This power plays a crucial role in influencing their behavior. Now, in authority, Max Weber describes three types of authority: traditional, charismatic, and rational legal. Now, here, Prime Minister enjoys both charismatic and rational legal authority. Rational legal authority is something given by legal sanction. That means he has legal authority to influence the people, individuals' behavior, and also he has charismatic authority. Now, using his charismatic authority and rational legal authority, he is urging individuals to get vaccinated. Moving on to the next article. In this article, it is said tribal vaccine coverage better than average. Vaccination coverage in tribal areas is better than the national average, the government claimed in the Supreme Court. Now, this is something ironical. Actually, tribal areas must face low rates of vaccination, right? Because of lack of education or lack of awareness, etc. But here, the situation is ironical. The gender ratio for people vaccinated was better in the tribal districts, the health ministry said. This is again another irony. The center said exceptional coverage of vaccination was observed even in districts with the most difficult and remote areas and with high proportion of tribal population. Now, why this kind of situation is there? We can't say why, but we can say one thing for sure. That means in education and social change, we have a criticism by Raymond Bodon. Raymond Bodon says, role of education in providing avenues for social mobility is not very significant. Also, role of education is not very significant in driving social change. And hence, we must be under a stereotype that because tribal communities have low levels of education, they must have a vaccine hesitancy in higher rates. But here the situation is ironical. That means one thing is clear, that education is not so significant in driving social change, as rightly said by Raymond Bodon. Moving on to the next article. In this article, Odisha Sarpanch helps villages overcome hesitancy. This is a classic case study of charismatic authority again. This article talks about the remoteness and prevailing vaccine hesitancy had made difficult the task of local administration in inoculating the population. This article talks about a village called Kushumjor in Naupada district of Odisha. The young Sarpanch's assurances came in handy, and the administration is now just short of vaccinating 18 more people before achieving 100% population coverage for the first dose in the 45 years and above group in Kushumjor Panchayat. A few weeks ago, people were running away from the mere mention of vaccination, saying they would die in 3 months if they took the vaccines. From that situation, they have reached to the situation where there are just 18 more people left out from 100% vaccination. It is truly appreciable and laudable. Now, it is further said, though government authorities had been trying hard to persuade people to get the job, it was not happening. People were expecting someone from the community to provide the assurance. That means people are in need of some authority, some charismatic authority, some personality to influence their behavior, to give them assurance and to convince them to get the job of vaccine. Here, this particular statement highlights the need of charismatic authority in the society. We may think celebrities are doing nothing or uh, celebrities cannot influence the society just merely by their tweets. Now, that is wrong in social perspective. Celebrities like cinema stars, film stars, sports persons, etc., build a tremendous power under charismatic authority, and their power and authority is functional to the society in particularly in situations like this crisis times. I told people that I would shoulder responsibility for their family members if anything happened to them after vaccination. It instilled confidence among people. Now, we have discussed already how charismatic authority is important in this particular article. Further, in this article, we can discuss Emile Durkheim's social fact. Now, social fact, this COVID-19 is social fact, and need for vaccination is a social fact because it is external to the individual, it is general to every society, it is coercive upon individual, it is forcing individuals to behave in certain manner, that means COVID appropriate manner, and it is independent to the individual. Hence, COVID-19 situation and need for vaccination is a social fact. Now, Vimal Durkheim says, individual behavior is influenced entirely by the society and the individual has no role to play. However, Harry Elmer Byam says individuals do many actions without any societal influence. Here also, people are hesitating to get vaccinated without any societal influence. The societal influence forces them to get vaccinated, but contrary to that influence, they are acting against the societal influence and going in subjective manner. That is what is said by Max Weber also. Individuals act upon their perception of social facts. Now, this COVID-19 situation is a social fact, but individuals have perceived that particular social fact in their own way. In their own perception, they are acting. Some people are getting vaccinated, some people are not getting vaccinated. They're getting vaccinated or not getting vaccinated is dependent on their own perception of the social fact, that is COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Stephen Lux also says emotions and individual subjectivity have role in individual actions. Here also we have seen people are in need of someone to give them assurance. That means emotions are getting into play here, as Stephen Lux rightly said. And that emotion are driving social actions to get or individual actions to get vaccinated. Bitterberger asks Emile Durkheim, why same social facts influence different individuals differently? If the social fact is there, every individual must act in the same manner for that social fact. But because different individuals are acting in different manner for the same social fact, that social fact, that means Peter Berger argues that individuals act depending on their individual perceptions and on their will and wish. They are not forced by the society to act in any particular manner. That is what we have here. We have discussed Max Weber's power and authority and Emile Durkheim's social fact in relation to this particular article. Now, that's all we have for today. We have took a very long time to discuss various perspectives in this article. We have discussed Emile Durkheim. We have discussed the social movements. This Emile Durkheim's division of labor. We have discussed education and social change. We have discussed also Emile Durkheim's social factor, society and individual, social movements, division of labor already, functional prerequisites of Parsons. We have discussed Hegelian dialectics. We have discussed Parsons' social system and cybernetic hierarchy. We have discussed Karl Marx economic determinism, how economic base structure influences socio-political superstructure. We have discussed Parsons' functional prerequisites. We have discussed Max Weber's power and authority, charismatic authority, etc. We have also discussed criticism to education, how Raymond Borden criticizes education as not being any significant force in driving social mobility and social change. And again, coming to this, Max Weber power and authority and Emile Durkheim's social fact. Thank you for listening. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you and have a nice day.